Well, welcome everyone. We are back in full swing here at the Wealthy Speaker Podcast after taking a beautiful hiatus over the summer months. I'm your host, Jane Atkinson, and today we're coming out swinging. This month in the Wealthy Speaker School, it's all about selling speeches and packages. So today we're going to talk about sales, conversations, and there's nobody better to do that with us than the amazing Dawnna St Louis. Welcome to the show, Dawnna.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. I really appreciate being here.
I am so excited to have you here. Tell everybody about your business model. We've seen each other in the hallways of NSA for years now, but I really never really knew until today all of the things that you do. Tell everybody about what you do.
Yeah, we've satellited each other for a bit, and it's like finally, the crash happened, right?
Be alive, yeah.
Um, so my business is that I am really an expert who happens to speak, right? You have a lot of experts that can actually, own the stage. I'm one of those people who can own the stage. So I'm an expert who happens to speak. And specifically, I am an income production growth expert. So I work on the income production side of most businesses, my corporate clients, and I help them grow their business. And then on the speaking side or even entrepreneurial side, I usually work with people who are experts and thought leaders and help them develop a business, a methodology around that. So then, of course, they could do the same thing, right? So I offer more of a duplication process.
I love it. And you have just an amazing business model, and you use a term that I use all the time. I am an expert who speaks. And, I remember this phrase out of the Wealthy Speaker 2.0. Brian Palmer said, clients no longer want to hire quote unquote speakers. They want to hire experts who speak. You map it out into 4 types of speakers. Talk about what the 4 types of speakers are.
Absolutely. So the first one you have is inspirational. And I'm going to do these from order of lowest paid almost. Like
Okay,
these are, you're going to get a little less money up to a little higher. So we're going to start off with your inspirational speaker. So your inspirational speaker is generally someone who's maybe a little more entertaining. They may be doing something comedic. They don't have a specific area of expertise, so to speak. And they're sometimes we even will call them like they're filling in a space, right? They're really filling in a space. Now, don't get me wrong, you can get people who've been in it for a long time that are celebrities, and yeah, they're making a lot of money. But if you're not really well known, inspirational speaker is one of those where maybe you can tell a great joke or moderate. Then we go on to the next level of someone who's a motivational speaker. A motivational speaker is going to have you walk away in the audience with one particular tip, saying, phrase, or something like that. I still get hired as a motivational speaker because I was homeless when I was 19. I sold a business for $250 million when I was 39. And so a lot of times they'll say, can you come in and just do a motivational speech for us?
Yeah.
Right. Tell the story, right? And motivational speakers generally have a story. You might hear a motivational speaker tell the same story over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Then from there, you have an educational speaker. Now, an educational speaker generally is sharing content. It may not even be their own content, but they're educating their audience they do a lot of breakout sessions. They're educating their audiences anywhere from, 45 minutes to a few hours. And then from there, you have your expert speaker. Now, the difference between your expert speaker and your educational speaker is that your expert speaker is a thought leader. What this means is they have their own methodology, a very specific way of getting someone from point A to point B. So when people hire me as an expert, it's because I have a very specific methodology in sales that isn't what is out there already, or a very specific methodology in business building that's not already out there. So experts have their own. Now, if you're an expert, by the way, you have to be expert, you have to be educational, you have to be motivational and inspirational. So
Yeah, you really have like a building block situation here. Now, there are outliers. We just want to make sure that we clarify.
Yes,
Look, there are motivational speakers who are earning 30K a pop. There's no question about it.
absolutely.
There are inspirational stories that people will pay for. You know, there's probably a lot of Olympic athletes who just won gold medals in the Olympics recently who are getting paid some pretty good.
Celebrities.
Yes, who
Hmm.
are getting paid some pretty good fees. So just know that there are going to be outliers, but I think this kind of gives people an idea. Now we're talking about sales conversations today. So these people we've broken down, inspirational, motivational, educational expert, who should they and shouldn't they sell to?
Right. So let's say you are an expert and you're an expert in, well, I'll use sales, right? If you're an expert in sales and you're reaching out not to the meeting planner or the event planner, you're reaching out to the director of sales and the vice
Yes.
president of sales. If
Yes.
you're an expert in customer service, you're reaching out to who's ever handling the customer service, that director. So
Okay.
it impacts who you talk to. My motivational speaker and my inspirational speaker are more likely working with people who are event planners, not maybe not necessarily the decision maker that's looking for some content that's going to change the game as they walk back in the door. They're looking to, you'll hear them say, we want somebody to set the tone.
Yeah, fill a spot, but set the
So
tone.
set
Open
the
on this
tone.
on this tone, close on this tone. Yes, yes, yes. And
Exactly. Hmm.
understanding. We've done a few podcasts with one of my good friends in the industry, Chris Young, who now she came out of the Speakers Bureau and now works for a production house. And this production that they're doing is massive. And most of her clients have, budgets in the tens of millions of dollars. And so she'll say, I'm looking for a speaker on X subject. And I'll say, what's your budget? And she'll say, sometimes 30,000, sometimes 75,000. They're really
Hmm.
looking at the $75,000 level. I'm thinking they're really looking for a celebrity,
Celebrity.
definitely some big name recognition to put bumps in,
Hmm.
right?
Yep. And that's what you have to know. You're really listening to what they're looking for. You have to, if they're putting, listen, they have calls for speakers out all the time because I'm in the expert realm. That's not the play box in which I play in it. That sandbox wouldn't really garner me very many toys. So I go over to, when I'm talking about sales, a lot of the people I'm talking to are vice president of sales, executives of sales. They want to talk to me, and they'll usually hire me, by the way, to do their opening keynote for their kickoff meeting for their sales team. And then they'll turn around and say, oh, and can you come in and do sales training? Oh, and by the way, can you also do this? So for me, an average contract is somewhere between, $50 and $100,000 per
Mm.
client. But I'm playing in a different way.
And I love that you are, and I love that you have said, this is how I'm going to do my business. Like,
Right.
look at where you've come from to this
Right.
place where you're like, okay, this is my fee. I have no problem asking for it, and we're going to talk about fees here in a second. But I just love that you're really playing your own game. This is awesome.
Yeah. You got to know how to play in your own sandbox for sure.
That's so good. What are the top mistakes, we'll just say made by speakers in the
Hmm.
sales conversations?
So first, you have to recognize what's happening in the industry. Speak, Many speakers that tell me they're struggling are selling a speech and not a solution.
Oh, so
They're
good.
being a professional, which is great, but not being an expert, right? So they're selling their profession. They're like, I'm funny. Well, so are a lot of speakers, and I engage the audience. That's your job,
Yeah.
like, right? So they're being a professional, but not an expert. They're devaluing with discounts, and they're not incentivizing, and they're working with anyone rather than disqualifying their client.
Ah, I just want you to say that again and again and again because it's so good. Selling a speech, not a
Not a solution.
solution. Okay, hear that, write that down. Am I selling a speech or a solution? We really need to know exactly what problem you're going to help solve when you get out there. This isn't a transaction. And that is actually our goal, is to move from what I call transaction to transformation. Okay,
Right.
you want this transaction, you want me to fill in this slot, but why do you want that? Let's dig around and figure that out. And then it's going to turn into that bigger contract and the solution that you're talking about. So good.
Right.
So good.
Right.
So, okay, so we've kind of alluded a little bit to fees, and I love that you're at like a really serious, healthy fee. And I love that also that you're a Black woman commanding this really serious, healthy fee.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
we've got, let's speak to all of the people, all different races, ethnicity.
And just FYI, I'm not a diversity and inclusion speaker.
Right, right.
Most of the people I speak to are in sales, and if I put a color on it, it's usually a room full of white guys.
Yes,
Like,
I love that.
right. I'm just
Love
owning that.
that.
That's who's in the audience, you
But I
know?
want to talk to everybody across the board, all the genders
Mhm.
and everybody, and
Yep.
say, fees are a tricky business. Many speakers struggle with saying what their fees are. How do you say your rate and own it?
Yeah. And so let's talk about the psychology of rates, because that's where people struggle the most, in the psychology of rates. I'll give you a perfect example.
All right.
I was talking to someone the other day in regards to my sales program. So my sales program is $10,000,
Okay.
and that's how much it is. And this gentleman got on the phone and said, most, I love this language, most sales programs are, $3,000 to $5,000. You're coming in 2 to 3 times more than most programs. And I go, yeah, I am. And he goes, how do you justify that? I go, by being better.
End of
And
story.
that's the
End of
whole
story.
answer.
Mic drop. Enough said. Like, hello.
Right.
I, I
Right.
I love that you have that confidence to say that. And I love that you have the confidence to back it up. And I
And the
will say,
courage.
when you
You got to
say
have courage.
yes, I was gonna say though, don't you think it all starts with mindset? Because if you got your mindset locked down, and actually, let's do a little formula here. Mindset plus clarity, I think equals confidence. Okay,
Mhm.
so you lock in your mindset and you really understand. I have these cards that I look at every day, these little index cards. I don't know what the size of this is. And I just map out what my goals are and I look at them every single day and they get me into the right mindset getting onto any
Right.
type of a call. And so um, the second important thing there though is clarity, because if you aren't clear on the solution you're selling, then you will not have that confidence.
And if you're not clear on your ideal client and you're just trying to sell to anyone, here are the things that I say all the time. Stop chasing the dollar, let the dollar chase you. And if you want to have more commas in your bank account,
Mhm.
remove some of the commas in your expertise.
Ooh,
You know what
that's
I'm saying?
okay. That's a pull quote there, Monica. That needs to go in the front of the podcast. Okay, so many good things that you're saying here. I just need a transcript of this whole thing. So say what you just said again. If you want to put more
If
commas
you want to put more commas in your bank account,
in the bank account.
remove some of the commas in your expertise.
Okay, so
Seriously.
when you list out 5 different expertise,
Then you're
you're the
not.
jack of all trades and the master of none, right?
Right.
And we have a
Right.
saying over here, pick a lane. Joe Calloway generously gave that to me, 100 years ago. And it's exactly
Pick.
about that. And so that's where you cannot have clarity without having picked a lane.
And here's what I really show people how to do. So you pick this one lane, pick this one area of expertise, and do it scared. People are like, how do I know which one? You don't. So pick one. It doesn't matter. Just pick one.
Yeah.
Let's pick that one and then let's chase it like nobody's business. Let's make money in it and then give it the opportunity to grow and morph. We are not chiseling this in stone. This is not bedrock. Okay. We can actually go down this path Give it a year. You're going to make money if you focus on one thing in a year. And then you could go, hey, I think I want to expand or morph or change or whatever. Because here's the thing, your client who paid you $5,000 is not going to pay you 10. You're going to need to find new clients regardless.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta know that. Like,
So
people are always so concerned about that. I'm like, they're not going to pay you the same amount. They're not going to pay you more money for the same thing anyway.
right,
So it's fine.
right, exactly. So, so much in there. My head is spinning. This is so good. Um, okay. So you get on a sales conversation with a client,
Yep.
and we talk. I don't know if you've ever heard this term. Bob Scheinfeld used this term years ago about getting them whooped up about working with you first. Let's ask some questions. Let's talk about what their problems are, and then talk about how you might address those problems, get them whooped up. And then
Yep.
when it comes to the fee conversation, they're warm. Would that be the advice that you would give people?
Yeah, I have very specific questions that I'm going to give away today.
Oh, yay. Let's have them.
Okay, is that cool? All right. So the first thing you want to do, if it is a warm call, we'll use the warm call conversation, and then I'll talk more about the cold call conversation. But let's use the warm call. So someone's gotten on the phone. They're expecting to have this conversation with you. Usually what happens is someone says something like this: hey, we're having an event coming up on such and such date, such and such time. Are you available? And the first thing people go is, yeah, I'm available. And let me tell you all the things that I have. And oh my God, shut up. Stop. Stop. I could be available, but you might not be my ideal client.
Let's
So
let's have a conversation. Yes.
let's reverse. So here's what you're going to ask first. What's going on in your world that, and then the situation.
Yeah.
So when I talked to Jane, I'm like, Jane, what's going on in your world that you're hitting Clubhouse? That's the first thing I said to her. Jane, what's going on in your world that you're gonna get a Winnebago and drive around and take people outside by the beach? What's going on in your world? Just by asking that question, what's going on in your world that you're on the hunt for a speaker right now?
Mm.
That's all you have to ask. And here's
Okay.
why that's an important question.
Okay.
Because they can use you, or they can use a CEO. They could use some C-level executive. Why are they choosing to find a speaker right now?
Right.
Ask the question and shut up.
Okay.
Let them talk. The more they talk, the better they think the date was.
Yes, for sure.
You're dating your client.
Yes. Okay, good.
After you get that, go on to the second question. And
Yeah.
the second question is one of my favorites. So, what does that look like when you bring in that person? What are you currently struggling with in regards to finding that person? Because obviously, if you spoke to the first person, you wouldn't be talking to me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you find is the most frustrating part of this process? What is it that you want your audience to walk away with? How do you want them changed? What information do you think that if they got this information, it would be a game changer in your organization?
Mm.
Last question. When I step off stage, you want your audience to be changed in some way. What does that look like? Now, for me, this is a big deal because some people have seen me speak live, or they have seen me do a live stream, and they will think that I'm comedic because people are laughing at me because I tend to let things fall out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And I've had people go, well, we just want you to be our comedian. No, you don't. That's not what I do. So I really need to understand. I said, listen, I'm not going to guarantee you people are going to laugh. People just happen to laugh at me because I leverage a lot of humor, but it's not on purpose.
Right.
So if you want somebody who could do that on purpose, there's another person. These first three questions should give you a full view of what they're looking for. And until you have a full view, you have not earned the right to continue forward and offer a solution.
Beautiful. Okay. I love that.
Operative phrase there is you have not earned the right to offer your services.
Okay.
If I picked up the phone and called you and ask you 10 questions about that event. Could you answer those 10 questions? And if the answer is no, you have not earned the right to go forward.
So, okay, that kind of leads to the idea of trying to close the deal in one call. Talk about
Right.
that.
What you really want to do is you want to get to what I call next step domination, right? So next step domination really is, and even when I coach people in very large organizations selling 10, 20, or $100,000 or $250,000 services, it's really the same thing. No one wants to be closed. No one wants to be sold. They don't. So stop selling. One of the things that I absolutely love is the formula that I use turns that awkward sales talk into an effortless conversation with next steps that make sense.
Right.
So what you want to do is when you're on the phone, you literally want to get to the point where you go, hey, listen, first step, let's make a recommendation on the next time that we talk.
Okay.
And then next thing, what are they going to get out of it? So at that point, are you going to go to your website? Are you going to have sent them, if you're sending them a proposal, send them a proposal that you're going to review? Yeah. Whatever it is that you're going to do, what are they going to get out of that next talk? Then are there other people that should be on this call?
Yeah.
To help make a decision?
Right.
Because maybe that's what needs to happen next, that they need to have other people on the call.
Yes.
Then once you go on with beyond the call, now you're saying, okay, I'm going to send you a link right now. Send them a link while you're on the phone. I'm going to send you a link right now. I want you to click that link. All right, tell me what your date and time you're picking. We're setting up, you have not finished the call until they're on your calendar.
You're dominating the next step.
You are dominating the next step.
So would you still run that same process for a $3,000? Okay.
every conversation.
All right.
What is our next step? Every conversation, if you're going to have a next step where you're trying to win more clients, you cannot leave the ball in their court and expect them to do anything with it.
Okay. So what you're saying is control the narrative, control the flow of how things are going to work. Don't leave yourself hanging, wondering, are they going to go for okay, that's so good. Let's talk about proposal or not proposal. I mean, I'm thinking if you're doing $50,000 to $100,000 contracts and beyond that, you are probably putting some things in writing with some deliverables, et cetera. Is that right?
Every conversation has a proposal. Every transaction has a proposal.
What about the $3,000 webinar? Same?
Every transaction has a yeah.
Okay, so you like to present in that particular way, and tell me about the process. Do you send it to them to review and then we have the next call? Or
and that's going to be, yep.
Do it on the call?
So before we get off of this call, in which I'm going to send them a proposal, what we have is what we call an agreement.
Yes.
So they're going to give me a date and time, or they set their date and time. I'm going to create the proposal. I will have that proposal back to you by this time. How long do you think it's going to take you to review it?
Okay.
And then on our next call, we'll review it together.
Okay, then you go through it together. Okay, fair enough.
Right. That's the agreement of what's going to happen. But there's one thing I want to share really quickly, and this is when it comes down to the money conversation. Because most people are very uncomfortable with the money conversation or even leading into it. So can I give you my little tips, tricks on how I do this?
You betcha.
So this is how I do it. There are literally 3 things that you have to cover. You've already covered what's going on in their world. What are they struggling with? What are the things, what does things look like after you work with them? You've probably from a high level delivered your solution and said what you can do, but you still haven't talked about money. And there's nothing worse than getting the third conversation to find out that they don't have any.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Right?
How do we fend that off?
Right. So I want you to know there's 3 things you have to be aware of. Time, date, time, location, how much you're going to speak, how often,
Right.
Effort, what you need to do versus what they need to do. And make
Yes.
sure you're clear on that effort. Do you need to deliver PowerPoints? Do they need to deliver something to you? That type of thing. Excuse me. And with that effort, I always count others. Who are the other people that they need to introduce you to and be involved?
Okay.
So this is what I say. I'll say something like, okay, Jane, so we've done time. We know when this is, effort, what I have to do, what you have to do. We got that nailed down. We also know that Bob needs to be involved. So you're going to connect me with Bob, and I'm going to put that in our email as one of the next steps that we're going to do. The only thing left to talk about is money. What type of investment did you put aside for this?
Good. I have $500.
Okay, so we have a delta of $19,500
Okay.
because my starting rate, notice the language that I'm using. My starting rate for a keynote speech is $20,000. Most of my clients come in with my other solutions at around 50.
So you have you have asked this question in call number one, is that right?
Most of the time, yes.
Yeah, okay. You're not waiting to call number two to ask that
There's
question.
no need. There's no. I don't even have a proposal to put together.
Okay.
It's according to how big the contract is. Sometimes during that first one, we're still doing a design. They're going, well, I think I need, but I'm still asking, what is your, and I always make a big deal. So what you're asking for is someone who's built a $250 million company to come and stand on your stage and help your people be motivated so they can rock sales, because you're probably wondering why I'm still doing it, because I love it. What if your people still loved it?
Mm, so good.
So what type of investment are you putting forth for your 1,278 people to have that kind of motivation for the entire year?
That's really good. Okay, good. So you find out if they've got a budget, and then you proceed with call number two
Yep.
and owning that. Love it. Love it. Love it. You have dropped some serious gold for us today. I appreciate it so much.
Welcome.
I have a follow-up question that I think our listeners are going to be curious about. Tell us about the company that you sold.
Oh, so I am a deep geek. I a lot of people look at me and go, no, you're not. Listen, there used to be tape on these glasses and pocket protectors everywhere. I ran a business intelligence company. And and back in the day when I ran a business intelligence company, people thought that I was spying on organizations.
Okay.
Business intelligence is really about taking data and leveraging trending data in order to know what to do next in your organization.
Oh, good.
And that's what I used to do. I used to be able to take all of their systems, put together their data and say, listen, this is historically what you've done. Let's look at what you can do differently.
So you heard it here, listeners. Dawnna St. John is actually St. Louis, sorry, is a geek. I didn't know
I know.
that.
I
I
am
did
deep,
not
deep.
know that. I would not have
I've
thought.
actually written code that's running on your computer right now, believe it or not.
Gosh, that is wild. Okay. Well, I actually went to school, went to college for what it was called back then for data processing, and learned how to write code when I was in college. But of course, did not use. We were giant mainframes back then. We were using BASIC and COBOL. I mean, I don't even know if those are still around. So
They do.
anyway, I did not continue on.
Got you.
Well, listen, you have something for people to grab from you, or how should they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So two things that are happening. Firebrand sales. If you go to Firebrand sales, FYREBRAND sales, and even if you spell it wrong, you'll find it.
Okay. That's good.
Because that's how we roll.
Yeah.
We have a mansion retreat program coming up, and we only allow 10 people in it.
Mansion retreat. So I love that
It's a
Dawnna does.
mansion.
She wants to hang out in mansions, which she does all up and down the East Coast. And so
Yeah.
she's going to bring all you to a mansion, and the retreat is going to cover what?
So this mansion retreat program is specifically for people who want to win more clients.
Hmm.
But I recognize to win more clients, it's not just about teaching you how to sell and having an effortless sales conversation. So
Mm-hmm.
we look at your marketing efforts. We look and make sure that you have, as you say, picked a lane, so
Mm-hmm.
that you've picked a lane and that you've picked a lane that's lucrative and you actually know what your ideal client can bear. So we help you even identify your ideal client. So if you know your expertise and you know that you should be winning more clients, we have a program, and it's actually an 8-week program that we put together along with 6 months of coaching to help you ensure that you are not only having these effortless conversations with your clients so you can win more clients, but that you have a sales manager basically who's helping you stay accountable to your sales, and the whole group coaching program. So it's a whole thing. It's not just you're going to watch videos. And by the way, if you're listening to this and you don't like me and you're like, she's not my cup of tea, you shouldn't sign up because it's me. Like, it's
I
me.
love that you said that. If you don't like me,
Yeah.
you shouldn't sign
If you
up.
don't like me, don't sign up. Don't even go to the website. It's not even worth it. I mean, my face is right there on the front. Like,
I love it.
stop now.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Well, we're going to have more conversations in the future. If you would like to come back on the show, I would actually love to have you back to talk about living the wealthy speaker lifestyle and talk about
Absolutely.
how you've mapped out your lifestyle, which I think is just so cool. And I want to say thank you so much from on behalf of our listeners for I mean, if you did not take a page of notes, you better go back and listen again when you have a pen and paper in hand, because that was brilliant. Thank you so much for being with us, Dawnna.
Thank you so much. I really had a blast.
All right. Well, with that, we're going to say see you soon, wealthy speakers. Bye for now, everyone.